atmospheric carbon dioxide has never been higher than 300 parts per million. In just the last 65 years, that number has jumped to nearly 400 parts per million. 97% of climate scientists agree that climate warming trends are very likely due to human activities. The average household of 4 people in Salt Lake City produces 51.2 tons of CO2 per year. In the United States, makes up only 5% of the world's population. Yet we are responsible for 22% of the world's carbon emissions. It is important to examine the way we live our lives and the impact that it has on our surroundings, correcting things as we go along to ensure we maintain a healthy environment for ourselves and our families. I'd like to introduce you to a new way of living that can reduce your carbon footprint and provide you with more freedom and independence. First off, I'd like to cover some important issues that we face today. We live in a world where we have become very separate from nature, the very life forces that we depend on. We live on foods that have been highly processed from genetically modified grains that are mass-produced on commercial farms that use high amounts of pesticides and herbicides, and meats that come from the animals that eat an even lower grade version of the same stuff. All the surfaces in our homes are treated with chemicals to give them an appealing finish and make them more durable. We depend on electricity that comes from fossil fuels to light, heat, and cool our homes. Burning fossil fuels adds to air pollution, and the environmental damage that has occurred from harvesting this fuel is practically irreversible. Water is pumped directly to our homes from a water treatment facility that bathes filthy water in chemicals to ensure that it is safe for us to drink and wash with. Climate change is happening, and the effects can be devastating. Sea levels are rising, global temperatures are rising, oceans are warming, and the surface water of the oceans have become 30% more acidic. Arctic sea ice is declining, glaciers are retreating, snow cover observed by satellite over the last 5 years has decreased. The number of high temperature events has increased while the number of low temperature events have decreased. We have seen the effects of climate change in the changing landscape. Stronger hurricanes, increased drought, fires, and floods. We've seen more heat-related illnesses, including the spread of disease from the increased population of disease-spreading pests, such as mosquitoes that spread malaria. Landfills and waste removal operations are expensive and damaging to our environment. In the U.S., our trash production is equal to 4.6 pounds per person per day. 55% of that trash gets buried, 33% gets recycled, and 12% is burned in an incinerator. Contaminants from landfills can seep into the groundwater and pollute our streams and our rivers. Trash that is burned pollutes the air and can cause acid rain. Increasing the rate of recycling can help to reduce these problems. Because these things are what we know to be normal, we tend not to give them a second thought. But what if there was a way we could be more connected to nature and become better stewards over this planet and our environment, all the while reducing our dependency on government-provided utilities? In the small town of Taos, New Mexico, there is a peculiar village of strange-looking homes. Taos is the birthplace of the Earthship, a concept invented by a man named Michael Reynolds. Earthships are now a concept that has been adapted to housing all over the world. Earthships provide durable housing that incorporates an indoor greenhouse. The greenhouse can provide food for its occupants year-round. Some Earthship owners have even incorporated fish ponds so that they can have fresh tilapia from time to time. Heating and cooling is provided by thermal mass. Earth is built up around the house that keeps the internal temperature of approximately 72 degrees year-round, regardless of how cold or hot it is outside. For additional cooling, tubes can be installed through the thermal mass, and when the vents are opened in the greenhouse, it will draw the cold air through the thermal mass into the home. For additional heat, a small stove can be installed. However, most people find that they have no use for them. Even in the coldest nights, an Earthship stays rather comfortable. Rainwater is collected from the roof and stored in cisterns. The water is recycled through the house for maximum use. The water runs from a series of filters, then to the sinks and showers. Then it is cycled through another filter and into the indoor gardens, where the plants use it, and the water that drains from the planters then cycles through the toilets, and the water is then flushed away to an outdoor septic tank that overflows into a rubber-lined outdoor area of landscaping. The plants in this area beautify the home and complete the process of cleaning the water. Electricity is provided by wind and sunlight. Solar panels are installed above the windows of the greenhouse. If you live in a windy area, you can install small wind turbines that can add an additional source of electricity. Many Earthship owners enjoy the same things conventional homeowners do, including the use of microwaves and washing machines, dryers, those things that consume a lot of electricity that you would think otherwise you wouldn't be able to use. But many people still have all the same amenities that you would in a conventional house. Earthships are also made up of 45% recycled materials. The main walls of the structure are built with used tires, rammed with earth. The use of this type of building material recycles one of the most abundantly available and difficult to dispose of materials. The tires provide thermal mass for the heating and the cooling, and the walls are virtually indestructible. The indoor walls are made of mortar and aluminum cans or bricks, forming very strong walls. Of course, the walls can be plastered over and painted any color to your liking. Many people incorporate glass bottles in the wall to allow light to pass through and to add a decorative fill. Earthships are, in my opinion, a wonderful alternative to conventional housing. However, the construction of these homes poses some challenges. I would like to... skipped over one. Some people will argue that earthships are too labor-intensive, which will make the construction costly. It's difficult to obtain financing because many landlords are unsure of the value of the home. There's not too many sales comparisons available. Depending on location, certain city and county zoning laws and utility requirements can make it difficult, if not impossible, to build. Not to mention, some counties make it illegal to harvest rainwater. I would like to encourage anyone who is thinking about buying a new home to consider investing in an earthship. They are labor-intensive and can be more expensive because of that. However, there are plenty of people who are eager to learn and willing to volunteer their time just for the experience. Your additional costs could be easily offset by the amount of money you save in your monthly utilities. It's difficult to obtain financing, and many people have been able to work around this by taking it a step at a time, buying land first, then acquiring materials, and beginning the excavating and building, investing as they go along. In the end, you have a home that you built without a mortgage and without paying monthly fees for utilities. The more people that invest in earthships, the more commonplace they'll become. Laws can be changed if enough people want them to be changed. An earthship home may not solve the whole problem, but they will certainly make a big impact. We know that our carbon emissions create low air quality. We can see that especially with the inversion here in the valley. We also know that we have contributed to climate change. I know that there are many people who feel the burden of having to pay month after month for the rising costs of utilities. Landfills are overflowing with trash, and there is a growing concern over the quality of foods and the amount of chemical additives in them. An earthship home gives back our freedoms to live the way we want to live, to produce our own food, to collect and filter our own water, to harvest energy from the sun, and use the earth to create a comfortable climate in our home. Earthship provide another use for what would otherwise be tossed into landfills. Essentially, an earthship can reduce a carbon footprint from the average home of 51.2 tons per year to only 3.2. If enough of us build earthships, we can make a huge impact on our environment. It's time we all do our part to protect the environment we live in and not allow the next 65 years to be like the last 65 years. Thank you.
All right.